For this first video, I'll actually be highlighting two different technologies that I use in conjunction with one another. These are relatively new to my repertoire with teaching. I've been using Google Slides for a couple of months, and I really like it a lot. I know that it's not necessarily new technology, but with most of my students having grown up with PowerPoint, this is definitely something that's new to them. Utilizing cloud-based programs is definitely out of their wheelhouse for the most part. So with Google Slides, I have to upload or import all of the slides that I'm getting from the publisher. So I have that actually up on the screen. It's really easy. You open up a new blank, here I'll just actually go to it. Blank presentation, click on that, it'll bring up just blank. You'll go to, after it ends up downloading, you go to File, Import Slides, which I already have done on this, and it brings everything up. With this, it's kind of nice when it imports because you can select the ones that you want to import or the ones that you don't want to. This particular publisher likes to put pronunciation slides, which as far as I've heard from my students, the best thing to do is to do the read it to me and have their computer try and pronunciate these things. I don't find it valuable for my actually giving a lecture, so I tend to pull those out. So it's kind of a quick, easy way to do that without having to go through and individually delete. Then I go to add-ons and open Peardeck. So Peardeck makes your slides interactive. You can put in questions on your slides to make sure that your students are understanding. The biggest thing that I use it for is to make sure that all of my students are participating in class. I have about half that decide to come to class in person and the other half log into a live webinar. And it's really easy for those that are sitting in the chairs to participate, but those that aren't really like to log in and then kind of go dark and they don't actively participate. So I try and throw a couple of questions throughout my lecture so that they have to participate. And once you start presenting a lesson that has Peardeck on it, they can't see who has answered what. They just see that there are answers. So it's a really nice way also to check for understanding and then have an opportunity to discuss what the students are answering, whether it be right or wrong. So the biggest part on my slides, there's built-in case studies on every single one. So I'll start with the patient information and end up reading that to them just to make it easier. And then there's built-in questions. So what I end up doing is taking these questions and putting them on individual slides, but then I can Peardeck it. And I'll actually just pull up the one that I've already Peardecked. So that my students are given not very much time, honestly, but I pull up and show them how many have answered and how many haven't, so that they know they need to get their answers in. And I don't move on until I've got an answer from everybody. So after we have Peardecked it, here we go. You can see on this one it says students write your response. When they log into the class on Peardeck, this actually will bring them into this. When they click on the screen, then they'll be able to type in their question. So I'm going to actually open my Peardeck again because I went to a different slide. Present the lesson. So when you go to present the lesson, it'll launch the presentation and then it'll come up with how to log into that particular class. So you actually have to go to joinpd.com and then you'll type in the code, and it always comes up with some weird saying underneath of it. since I don't have any students participating right now, you won't see that I have any students, but if I did, there's that bottom area right here that states when a student is connected or not connected. Same thing for when I'm actually presenting. At the bottom, you can also quick add a question. Let me pull this down just a little bit more. You can quick add a question. So if I want to make sure that my students catch a concept, I can always just add this. I can add a new interactive question, agree, disagree, true or false, multiple choice, whatever it is that I want to do. And then they'll end up getting this screen of please enter your answer. You can go down, you can show responses. Nobody is obviously responding because this is just an online thing, but I can lock the screen so that they can't respond anymore, or I can add a new question in. And it's pretty interesting. I can make this full screen by just going over here, make full screen. You can turn it on to student paste, where they can go ahead and flip through it as they want to and answer. But I tend to go through the slides just as they would. Once I get to those questions towards the end, I'm going to go ahead and pop to the end of this. There's also some review questions that are pre-built. So here's that case study where they actually get the opportunity to type and discuss, which you can't see because I am not sure how to do this. But this is a slideshow that I previously completed with my students. So you can see off here to the left the responses that I actually got from these different questions. All of these are Peardecked, so they all participated, they all gave answers. And the coolest part that I've just discovered is that when I actually end the presentation, I can go ahead and just type in some random and end the session. And then anybody that has signed into Peardeck with their email address will actually receive a copy of this. So it's kind of cool for your students to be able to go back and review and go through everything. But that's all I have. I know this is not great. They do have a how-to for Peardeck that's really, really cool. This is definitely one of the coolest ways. All of my students participate. There's no, well, I don't want to answer because I don't want to get the wrong answer and then everybody make fun of me. Like, there's no picking out individual students. Everything is anonymous, so they just put in an answer and then you can really, really talk about it. And it's been huge in my class for the last 2 weeks of pulling everybody in, and they all seem to like it quite a bit. So I am very thankful for both of these.